Whatever you think you're doing, you ain't doing. You just think you're somebody doing something. You think you're in control. All suffering assumes control. You think you know. These are all attachments. These are all us identifying with the actor or the doer. But what happens when we stop thinking? We become the observer. We become God's eternal love pouring forth. We know we stand in the center of the circle and allow all things to take their course. And we see that we are actually nature running off, chemistry and conditioning. So everything we've ever done, it was the only thing we could ever do based off of our chemistry and our conditioning. We're just our nature running off. We could have never done another thing. You can never make another choice other than the choice you're going to make. That's it. And you ain't never going to do anything anyway. You're not doing anything anyway. You're just attached to the actor because we think. When you stop thinking and become the observer, that's how we have to observe everything, because we're not doing anything. We're just God observing itself, right? We're on autopilot or on auto drive. We're just observing our nature running off. That's our higher self. That's allowing the divine to flow through us and work through us. That's it. So we're not actually doing anything. So we don't have to live in regret and shame and guilt and sin. These all assume control, which is part of the thinking mind. Again, but when you stop thinking, there it all goes. That's your surrender. That's giving up control. Stop thinking and end all of your problems. This is so important. So whatever you think you're doing, you ain't doing, because you ain't doing nothing. You're just attached to the doer. This is what keeps us trapped in the cycle of suffering. And they use the sea of stimulation, aggravation, and information, and the sea of chaos to try to keep us caught in these cycles of thought, which does what? Which sucks us back into the illusion, keeps us. And what we're really doing is it's taking us out of the present moment, which is all we need to do. There's nothing to do but to do nothing, but to just stay in the present moment, surrender. That's the only thing to do, if you want to even call it that, is to do nothing, to stop thinking and stop being attached to the doer, the somebody, the actor. Thinking we're somebody doing something is causing so much problems for us. Thinking we're in control. There's all your suffering. You think you're in control. So what happens when the control you think you have doesn't go as planned? You'll have suffering, or you have set expectations on things. Or you get attached to the outcome of something, right? Do your work and step back. Don't be attached to the outcome, because that's just going to keep you trapped in the illusion. That means you think you're somebody doing something, and you think you're somebody and things are happening to you. This is going to cause suffering. But the more we stay present, in every moment we stay present, we're dissolving the ego, and we're dissolving that attachment to the actor. We're severing the identification with the ego. And this is bringing us to the center of the circle, which allows us to be the observer, and sees us nature running off, and allows us to be present more. And we're constantly raising our vibration higher and higher through this process until we are the divine flowing through us. I am God's eternal love pouring forth. This is what happens when we surrender completely. What this whole process, this spiritual awakening is about, is constantly going and removing another weight that's keeping us from being present. And we do this through purification and through presence, and we get lighter and lighter, which allows us to get more and more present as we're facilitating a state of peace, as we're emptying and reconstituting our mind, which allows space for us to receive deeper understanding, which allows us to surrender and be present more. It's a beautiful thing. It's like a flower blooming. That's what we're doing. We're blooming into the infinite, the 1,000-petal lotus, right? Into the infinite consciousness, into one with our cosmic beloved, allowing God to flow through us. So when we're having trouble balancing or being too attached to the illusion, what do we got to do? We got to remove the aggravators and facilitate a state of peace. Keep removing the things aggravating and stimulating the thinking mind, which is keeping us caught in the cycles of suffering and the illusion. So that's going to be things like what? Anything that ain't just chilling in nature, pretty much, right? It seems like it. Because we're programmed to receive these stimulations, and we know our bodies remember the effect they have on us. So when we even see a little bit of some of them, it can really jar us still until we calm ourselves enough where we're not jarred by the very same thing. This is the ongoing process of presence and purification. As we become more and more balanced, even if it seems like we're coming out of balance, really it's all part of the same balancing act, kind of going the same way. It just kind of goes like this almost. It's interesting, right? All part of the same act. So ain't nothing to worry about. The only thing to do is observe. That's it. And observe your and everything else nature. The name of the game is nature running off, because that's everything. Ain't nobody doing nothing. Everybody just thinks there's somebody doing something. They're attached to the actor. They're living in their ego. And you can tell. It's interesting. You can tell who's living the ego just by how their perspective. Right? Your ego is going to keep you in a certain perspective, a lower limiting perspective, a perspective that judges people or that has regret, or a perspective that's trying to do something, right? It thinks it's somebody doing something or thinks it's in control. These are all just traps of the illusion and the ego. The ego is the guard at the gate to the divine, right? The divine's knocking on the door and the ego is throwing a house party. And he's like, and he's like, sorry, I can't hear that knocking at the door. I got this banging ass house party with all these thoughts up in here. We're just going buck wild tonight. Can't hear you, divine. Sorry. And then the more you stay present, those thoughts starts to say, this party sucks, man. Where'd the music go? And they start to leave. And eventually, the ego leaves too. When there's no more thoughts, the ego is gone. And then in comes the divine. You're allowing the divine. But as soon as you get some thoughts, start getting some thoughts back and think you're somebody doing something, the house starts filling up again. And there comes the ego again. And it's going to try to bang us around and really dig us into the illusion. Right? That's what all the chaos and the commotion's all about. Right? The sea of stimulation, aggravation, information is to perpetuate the cycles of thought. So we don't ever break free. So we don't ever see what's really going on. But we ain't doing anything anyway. We're just observing. That's how we get free. We have to free, as above, so below. We have to free ourselves internally, as all the masters have said, and which frees our external world. So every second you are present, you're raising the vibration of the whole planet. That's how powerful your presence is, because we are raising the collective vibration, which is going to bring everyone out of the shadows of the illusion. We will be free. This is how we free the world. We free ourselves. Remove the plank from your eye before you move the splinters or the specks from your brothers, right? That's what the Bible says, something to that effect. Such a good quote. We must free ourselves. And then we will, as we are present and the divine is working through us, our cosmic beloved is working through us, this is how we perform the highest acts of God, of our cosmic beloved in this earth plane. And this is how we free the earth the fastest. So presence is the only thing to do, is presence and purification, right? The two highest, and really some of the only highest devotions to God. God is just waiting for our undivided attention to stop thinking. Stop having that house party with all those thoughts. He's just waiting for you to stop your house party, your thought house party. He's just like, I'm just going to chill here for a minute. And then eventually, once you come back to the present moment, he's like, there you are. Let's get at it. Let's get at it. You know what I mean? There it is. That's it. Higher self. So when we're struggling, we can just always come back to the present moment and say, where's your higher self? You can be your higher self instantly, right now. Stop thinking. And now we look at the process to stop thinking. Facilitate a state of peace, removing the aggravators. All these things our conditioning needs to keep hearing repeated, as my own does, as I'm doing right now. My conditioning, right? My conditioning itself. I need to keep hearing these things repeated because the illusion is going to keep sucking us back in. And we're reprogramming ourselves. This is part of the reprogram for you and for me. This is part of the reprogram to keep us reprogramming in the right direction, right? To freeing ourselves completely from the illusion. Because the illusion spends all this time programming us to keep us in the illusion, the toxic food program. Right? There's a lot going on. It doesn't even matter. Because we're just the observer. Whatever it is, ain't nobody doing nothing. It's just all just a big play, just playing off. And we just think we're one of the actors. Think. But when we stop thinking, we think we're in control. So what happens when we surrender? You give up control. And you're still nature running off. Watch. Stop thinking long enough, if you can get there, and realize your nature running off. Wow, I'm actually driving and I'm not thinking. I'm working and I'm not thinking. I'm talking and having conversations and I'm not thinking. It's just my nature running off. I'm just observing it all. And this is how we gain deeper understandings from many different perspectives, being the conscious observer. This is why it can be necessary for us to seemingly go up and down, because as a conscious observer, you are receiving many, many deeper understandings. This is okay. This is all part of the beautiful awakening. Thank you for joining me, my friends. May our cosmic beloved send us peace, patience, presence, health, and understanding. I am God's eternal love pouring forth. Namaste.